$36. That's the number staring back at you the morning you turn 31. Not after rent, not after the card minimum, after everything. $36 and a decade of quiet excuses you've been dragging around since you were 23. It's a Sunday night. You're on the couch in your apartment, the one with the window unit that rattles every time it kicks on, laptop balanced on your knees because you can't sleep. And it isn't the rattling keeping you up, it's the number. You built this budget tracker 8 months ago during a bad week and then never opened it again because looking at it felt like standing on a scale you already knew the reading of. Tonight you open it anyway. Your salary, $61,200 a year, sounds like enough until you break it down. $5,100 a month before taxes turns into $3,120 after. Rent takes $4,225. Car payment, $30,000. Insurance, $105. Student loan minimum, $260. Groceries, $315. Streaming and subscriptions you forgot existed, $71. That leaves $1,104. But your card statement says everything else cost you $1,380 last month. You've been sliding backward by $266 a month for roughly 3 years. You shut the laptop. You sit in the dark. And something small moves. Not dramatic, nothing cinematic, just a quiet click, like a window unlocking after years of being painted shut. Here's the part nobody tells you when you're starting this at 31. You are not ruined, you are not too late, but you don't get the easy version either. Your 20s are spent, the years every finance book uses as its example, the ones where you drop $4,000 in at 23 and let 40 years of compounding do the heavy lifting. Those years are gone, and that's real, and it deserves exactly one night of grief. One night, because here's the other half of the truth, you're not 23 anymore, broke and guessing. You have a career now. You have leverage you didn't have then. You can earn more than you did 5 years ago, and you're finally old enough to stop flinching away from what the spreadsheet says. The first target isn't $10,000. It's not even $5,000. It's the first $1,000 that sits untouched. That's harder than it sounds, because at 31, $1,000 is also a dentist bill, a plane ticket for a funeral, a deductible. Life has more edges at 31 than it did at 22, so you chip at it. You sell the bike you bought to impress yourself 2 years ago. $210 on a resale app. You cancel 4 subscriptions, $71 back. You pack lunch for 5 weeks straight, maybe $150 saved. You pick up freelance work on weekends that you don't mention to anyone because there's a strange privacy to doing something this unglamorous. Another $240. One Tuesday, you check the account. $1,067. No fireworks. No one to call who'd understand why this number matters. But something settles in your chest that wasn't there a month ago. Proof you can actually redirect the current. 32. You've automated $350 into a Roth IRA and $180 into a high-yield savings account every month, pulled out before you can talk yourself out of it. It's tight. It holds. Then, in January, your furnace dies at 6 a.m. on the coldest week of the year. The technician doesn't sugarcoat it. $180-50 full replacement of the part, no way around it. You sit at your kitchen table with the quote and do the math you've been training yourself to do, and your account can cover it without touching a credit card. 2 years earlier, this bill would have been a 5-alarm crisis, a slow bleed you'd still be paying off in October. Instead, you pay it. You rebuild the fund over the next 3 months, and you don't skip a single contribution doing it. At 33, something shifts that has nothing to do with your balance. First, the market slides 14% over a stretch of 5 months. You watch the number shrink in real time. You check it daily for a week and a half, then force yourself to stop checking. You keep contributing anyway, buying shares on the way down without fully trusting the decision. You don't sell. By the following spring, it's like it never happened. But in between, you're standing in a hardware store trying to decide between a $45 space heater and a $95 one with a 5-year warranty and a tip-over shutoff. Old you grabs the cheap one on reflex. New you does different math. Daily use for 5 winters, cost divided across roughly 900 uses, and the premium one wins by a wide margin. You buy the $95 heater and sit in your car in the parking lot, quietly aware that you're no longer thinking in next paycheck terms. You're thinking in years. Nobody handed you that instinct. It just grew in. Spring of your 34th year, your company announces layoffs. The email lands at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, and by 4, the office Slack has gone unnervingly quiet, the specific silence of everyone typing in private instead. You go home and run the numbers. Your savings covers roughly 10 weeks at your current spending, tracked to the dollar because you've been logging it for 2 years straight. Your investments are a second layer underneath that, untouched. You're not bulletproof, but you're not one missed paycheck from the edge either. The cuts land 2 weeks later. 9 people, not you, but 2 friends, carry boxes out on a Friday. You feel relief and guilt about the relief in the same breath, and underneath both, a colder clarity. This happens again, to you or someone near you, and the only real defense is months bought in advance. You bump your emergency fund goal from 4 months to 7, and don't dip into your portfolio to do it. That same year, your friend Pryor buys a new SUV, financed 72 months at 7.2%. She calls it basically a lease and moves the conversation along fast. You've run enough numbers by now to know what that payment actually is against what she makes. You're in the passenger seat, and the new car smell and the door that shuts with a satisfying thud pull at something in you. A voice that says you've been careful long enough, that discipline should buy you a reward. You notice the voice. You don't fight it. You don't shame it. You just let it pass through, because you've learned the want itself isn't the problem. It's the want on a payment plan you didn't examine. A $54,000 vehicle at those terms costs north of $67,000 by the time it's paid off. You get out and walk to your 9-year-old hatchback and feel something. Land that takes a second to name. Not envy, not restraint, just clarity. The kind that comes from knowing exactly what a decision costs before you make it. Your portfolio crosses $42,000 on an ordinary Wednesday in June. You're between meetings, phone in hand, and it reads $42,300. You go back to your desk, eat a granola bar, keep working, but the number hums under the rest of the day like background noise you don't want to turn off. It's the first number that feels load-bearing rather than aspirational. A foundation, not a milestone. Everything after this stacks on top of it, and this is the entire reason starting at 31 beat waiting for 41. Foundations need time to set, and you gave it the time. At 37, your father calls on a Tuesday night, voice careful in the way it gets when he's practiced the sentence. The water heater flooded half the basement. The repair and cleanup will run $4,400. He's embarrassed to ask. You tell him not to be, and you mean it. You transfer the money the next morning without touching your investments, without financing anything, without the quiet math of what you'll sacrifice to cover it. What stays with you isn't the $4,000. It's how easily "I've got it" left your mouth. 4 years earlier, helping him would have meant debt and a private spiral about being a grown adult who couldn't absorb a family emergency. This time, you just help. That's the moment it clicks that wealth was never really about the number. It's the capacity to show up for people without it costing you your footing. At 38, your investments earn more in a single year, just over $7,400 than you contributed. Capital doing what capital does when you leave it alone. It's compounding while you sleep, while you're on vacation, while you forget to check for 2 straight weeks. You built this year by year through a furnace failure, a layoff scare, a market dip, and a phone call from your father that once would have flattened you, and now it just runs. By 38, your student loan is gone, paid off in one transfer that felt anticlimactic in exactly the way real milestones tend to. You've got a maxed Roth, a small taxable account, no revolving debt, and a strange, specific loneliness nobody mentions. Most people close to you aren't doing this. Some are in real financial strain that's hard to watch. Some earn more than you and spend past it without noticing yet. You've brought it up gently twice, and both times it landed nowhere because people don't rewire their relationship with money over someone else's index fund story. They rewire it alone at their own kitchen table when their own number gets uncomfortable enough. You can't hand someone that moment, so you carry it quietly, split checks evenly, even when you ordered less. Don't turn discipline into a performance and feel the distance the way you'd feel a draft with no obvious source. You wake up on your 40th birthday, and before coffee, before your phone, you lie there and think about the couch, the rattling window unit, the $36 the tracker you almost never reopened. Then you check the number, just over $84,000. Not a millionaire, not free, by whatever the internet's definition is this year. But 40 years old with $24,000 in real, working, liquid wealth built from a monthly deficit and one honest night you finally didn't look away from. The typical 40-year-old in this country holds a net worth well under six figures. You're sitting at several multiples of that. Not from an inheritance, not from a lucky bet, though luck had a quiet supporting role and you know it. Because you started before you felt ready. Because you automated the behavior before the motivation showed up. Because you paid cash for a furnace in January and rebuilt the cushion by spring. Because you wired $4,400 to your father without flinching and slept fine that night. Because you stayed invested when every instinct said, pull out. And somewhere along the way, you realized the thing nobody tells you at 31, you thought wealth would feel like a number on a screen. It didn't. It felt like fixing a furnace without dread. It felt like surviving a round of layoffs without panic. It felt like telling your father, I've got it, and meaning every word. More than anything, it felt like waking up one ordinary morning and realizing the future had quietly stopped being something that happened to you and become something you built one uncomfortable Tuesday at a time.